Jayanta Mahapatra's poem Sanskrit offers a multifaceted exploration of the ancient language, intertwining its spiritual, cultural, and phonetic significance with a reflection on its modern relevance. The poem delves into the mysticism surrounding Sanskrit, its once sacred aura, and the challenge it faces in the modern world. Through vivid imagery, metaphors, and cultural allusions, Mahapatra celebrates Sanskrit as a divine conduit of meaning, while acknowledging its contemporary estrangement. The opening lines, "Awaken them, they are knobs of sound," immediately present Sanskrit syllables as more than mere words. They are potential sources of power and transformation. The metaphor of knobs suggests that the sounds of Sanskrit hold an inherent resonance, waiting to be activated, which evokes the mystical and mantric quality of the language. Mahapatra imbues these syllables with vitality, encouraging the reader to perceive them not simply as linguistic elements but as forces with the capacity to shape consciousness and reality. As the poem progresses, Mahapatra deepens the metaphor with an evocative comparison. That seem to melt and crumple up like some jellyfish of tropical seas. Here, Sanskrit sounds are described as delicate, fragile, and almost organic, akin to jellyfish in the sea. The vulnerability of this imagery contrasts with the powerful and ancient connotations typically associated with Sanskrit, suggesting that the language's beauty is ephemeral yet potent in its fluidity. The notion of the sounds melting and crumpling also implies a sense of decay, emphasizing the impermanence of ancient languages in the face of modernity. The line "torn from sleep with a hand lined by prophecies" evokes a deep connection to spirituality and destiny. Sanskrit is not portrayed merely as a linguistic tool but as a sacred and prophetic medium. The imagery of a hand lined by prophecies introduces the idea that Sanskrit has a cosmic role, one that transcends mere communication to touch upon the divine and the timeless. This invokes a sense of reverence for the language as a vessel for spiritual truths, awaiting rediscovery by the modern world. Mahapatra further explores the theme of disconnect in as though longing to make up with the sky, but having lost touch with themselves were unable to find themselves. Hold meaning. The imagery of branches reaching for the sky but unable to find their place suggests a loss of spiritual connection and purpose. This disconnection reflects the challenges Sanskrit faces in the contemporary world, where its profound significance is often lost or disregarded. The poem's description of Sanskrit as a male, gaunt world sprawled across the page suggests a sense of stoicism and endurance. This could symbolize the rigid and structured nature of the language, which, despite its sacred origins, has been marginalized and relegated to an almost academic, distant world. The comparison to ancient tree trunks, reeking in the smoke of ages, the branches glazed and dead, emphasizes the language's age and its present state of decline. The smoke of ages evokes the idea that Sanskrit's essence is steeped in the past, and the dead branches suggest that the language, once vital and deeply interconnected with the spiritual and cultural fabric of society, is now largely irrelevant in contemporary life. The shift in imagery towards the sacred waters of Varanasi brings a new layer to the poem. Varanasi, revered in Hindu culture as a place of spiritual renewal, offers a backdrop where Sanskrit's potential for transformation can still be felt. The image of lifeless bodies seem to grow human evokes the transformative power of Sanskrit, which is likened to the cycle of life and death, where it breathes life into what is seemingly dead. This paradoxical image connects Sanskrit with the concept of spiritual resurrection, suggesting that even in its perceived decline, the language retains the power to revive and elevate. Mahapatra continues to connect Sanskrit's power with the rhythms of nature. The shaggy heads of wordbuds move back and forth between the harsh castanets of the rain and the noiseless feathers of summer. This delicate interplay between the harsh and the gentle, rain and summer, represents the enduring adaptability of Sanskrit. Its syllables are not static, they live and breathe, oscillating between opposing forces yet maintaining their essential essence. One of the most profound moments in the poem occurs in the line "aware that their syllables' overwhelming silence would not escape the hearers now." Here, Mahapatra acknowledges the paradox of silence in Sanskrit. The language may not be spoken widely, but its presence remains overwhelming, resonating in the collective consciousness of those attuned to it. This silence, which carries with it the weight of centuries, is depicted as a powerful force, signifying both loss and reverence. The line suggests that the deeper spiritual and cultural meanings embedded in Sanskrit can still be heard, even if the language itself is no longer in common use. The reference to drifts of quivering banyans invokes a sense of sacredness and guardianship, with the banyan tree often symbolizing endurance, wisdom, and the divine in Indian culture. These trees guard Sanskrit, preserving its mysticism and secrecy. The final image of a language of clogs over cobbles, casting its uncertain spell, trembling sadly into mist, encapsulates the melancholy surrounding Sanskrit's present-day status. The uncertain spell of the language, trembling into mist, suggests its fading influence but also hints at its continued, albeit tenuous, presence in the cultural landscape. In Sanskrit, Mahapatra captures the essence of the language as both a sacred and fading entity, imbued with a mysticism that transcends its modern-day obscurity. The poem's vivid metaphors and spiritual allusions offer a profound reflection on the relationship between language, culture, and history. Through the lens of Sanskrit, Mahapatra explores the delicate balance between tradition and modernity, suggesting that while the language may be in decline, its spiritual and cultural resonance continues to shape and guide those who listen closely. Ultimately, Mahapatra's work reflects a larger theme in Indian literature: the interplay between the ancient and the contemporary, the sacred and the secular. As writers navigate their cultural heritage in a changing world,